All right, my man. So we were just watching a couple of amateurs over there on the range, and you picked up something which I often talk about in all my lessons is just how the domino effect of creating a backswing movement with your hand staying relatively in front of your chest is very important. And these three players over here, right, they were all doing exactly the same thing. But the funny thing is they're all working on something different, right? So these three players, one was pulling their hands back by their right hip. One was getting the club rolling in and around, and the other was just lifting them straight up. But essentially, at the end of the day, the problem is that the hands are moving away from the center line of the chest, right? And what we see with the professional is that if we have a reference of the hand staying in front of the chest, throughout the majority of the golf swing, the hands would stay in front of the chest. So these players were trying all these different moves, but essentially at the end of the day, they could have just benefited from one. And you went over, you grabbed this black bit of tubing out of your cut, and you showed them this little exercise. And I thought it was a great opportunity to show the guys at home exactly what you did there.
Yeah, so this is literally one of the almost the dailies we'll call it for a lot of the players that I work with.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you hear it all the time that the way you start your swing really sets the tone for your swing. If you don't start the swing well, like I tell a lot of people, you're just losing options.
Correct.
You know, if you have a poor start to your swing, you're just trying to recover right from the start. Although it is the thing that you see, not too many people really put that amount of focus on.
No.
But if you go and look at the best players in the world, if you go on a range, they're super precise on their setup and how they start the backswing and how everything moves in relation to each other. So again, if I pull the band out here, one, it really helps with setup as well. All we're going to do here, so I've got a bit of rubber tubing that I've just tied into almost a loop here. So again, you could use any band for this. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loop it and put it over my back. Now, when I push out here as well, one, it sets the scaps into a really nice position to help with the rotation and with the stabilization of the club in backswing. But as I push out here, keeping my palms up and away, I'm going to keep my elbows and my ribs, my right elbow and my lower bottom rib and my left elbow and my left bottom rib together as I rotate. So I'm going to try and keep my hands and my arms and my rib cage somewhat working together, and I have a sense of almost like my belly button is staying lined up with the middle of my hands there. Okay, so you get that sense of like, okay, how you can drive the movement with your bigger body parts in your backswing.
Yeah.
Okay, now obviously then you can fine tune with how the hands, the club, and the arms move throughout the backswing. But this for me, I find just helps players, one, just get set really well, and then two, get that sense of how the upper body could be moving to help with the rotation and backswing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of players don't really achieve the amount of rotation with their body in the early parts of the swing that they could be doing that would really help them to maintain space in backswing. So you can see if I go to about here, that for me would be somewhere around here, say just past club parallel to the ground. I would say a lot of players, you see a lot of manipulation through the hands, the arms, maybe movement through the lower body where they're not getting it through the rib cage.
Mate, I love that. Chuck that band over here for me. So the way that I would present this to players is that the importance of, as a reference, if I was putting this across, let's say I'm going to start out and kind of get my palms relatively in front of my shoulders, I think is a good reference like this. Now, this is quite a tight band, which for me is not the end of the world, right? But you can change the tension of this band here. So let's say we've got the palms in front of the shoulders. Now, what I would like to see players do, and always make sure that you're in your golf setup. Don't half-ass this and be up in this position and then try and do it, because we need to relate it to what you would do. So down into your golf setup, hands in front of the shoulders here. I really feel engaged through that sort of that upper body there. Now, from this motion, I'm trying to feel, like you were saying, that the belly button is kind of staying in line with the center of the hands. And as I do so, you can see my hands are only moving because as a result of that upper body rotation. That thoracic rotation we can see is moving, and my hands are still staying in front of my shoulders. Now, as I then continue up into this stage of the swing, you can see I'm presenting in such a fashion that if I was to have the golf club in front of me like this, well, then they would be put together. Now, from there, if you were a player that was in one way or another, like these three over here were manipulating, so this is going up, I can feel that changes the tension of the band.
Yeah.
The player that was kind of rolling the club inside, well, now all of a sudden the structure of the arms is breaking down. And then finally, the one that was dragging it, well, you can see the band is slipping. So building some awareness to this, putting it into your posture, and then going, okay, this is all core driven, getting us into a position where that backswing is really starting from the initial feeling of getting the upper body rotating after a shift of pressure, that then puts us into a position where we're locked and ready to go.
Yes, and it's a great drill as well for anything if you wanted to control wedge play as well. So if you're looking at controlling your wedge distances, where you want to get the energy from the bigger segments instead of the timing with the little ones. So it's a great drill for that as well. So just getting a sense of just the energy coming from the rib cage.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I mean, a great one there. I mean, I could compare it to almost like a Tommy Fleetwood style of like movement, where it's like very much like just moving very well. Like I said, through the rib cage there.
Yeah, awesome, mate. So after I've got that feeling, I did quite a few reps there, so I'm very aware of this sensation that I'm trying to achieve. You can almost kind of like visualize that same sensation after you've done it without a band as a little rehearsal. Put the golf club in the hands. Feel like the arms are staying long and passive as we get that upper body rotation. Everything's staying in front. Off we go. Love it, dude.
Yeah, that's a
After all
good one
these
there.
videos, they just keep getting better and better. Cheers.